Board.
Hello and welcome to A Word with Kellie Scott Reed, or a twist on it because I'm not Kellie Scott Reed. I'm Beth Mulcahy, and today we're turning the tables on Raw Fignon Press. Myself and Matt McGuirk will be interviewing the editors of Raw Fignon Press. And so they run a fantastic press and are so supportive of the writers and creatives in the indie lit community. They publish tons of incredible work from a variety of writers. They host generative writing sessions, readings, and interviews with contributors. Well, we wanted a chance to turn the tables on the editors and interview them today. Who are these amazing editors and what makes them tick? How did this all start and what goes on behind the scenes of this amazing press? So as I said, I'm Beth Mulcahy. I am a writer and contributor to Raw Fignon Press and also a huge fan. And joining me today for A Word with Matt and Beth is Matt McGuirk. Hi, Matt.
Hey, how's it going, Beth?
Good.
So I mean, some of you guys know me as well, and I really enjoyed the press, since they came to be, or at least since I, sort of found out about them. I don't know how I didn't find out about them earlier, but since then, they're a press that's published the most pieces by me, from me, which is really cool. So I really appreciate them for a variety of reasons. But like you've said, they do so many things for different authors, and just kind of be cool. We thought it'd be cool to, learn a little bit more about them. Why not? They always want to know so much about their authors, so it'd be cool to see, about them, I think, which would be really fun. Sorry.
You get to ask the questions.
Yeah, exactly, right? Put them in the hot seat for once, right? I don't know. So we want to jump right in, Beth?
Go for it.
All right. So the first one, we were really wondering, how did you guys meet each other? And it might be different from each person, so it might be interesting to hear, different people's perspectives and sort of see, or maybe it's one story. I have no idea. Maybe it could be
It's
just
one
story.
Well, okay. So I'm gonna defer to Kellie and Marianne. They actually knew each other first.
Oh,
I'm guilty.
How it happened.
It's how it happened.
It's how it happened. I'm guilty. I'm in charge of this triumvirate. Is that what it's called? Being together.
Heavy-handed word, my friend.
I was it's triumvirate. I hired these two lovely ladies. I was the talent acquisition and retention manager for an insurance underwriting firm. And I decided I needed friends. I don't have a lot of friends. So I hired people that I would love to work with. Didn't matter if they had experience at all, as long as once we were in the interview, I had something to talk to them about. And these two, first of all, Marianne was first, and Tiffany was second. I did leave my job to pursue yoga full time, but then once the pandemic hit, they needed help. So we went back. And we became very close because we had very little work to do at the time, but a lot of time together. And then I will defer to you guys for more, if you have any more to add on how we met.
Well, I think, so Kellie and Marianne were friends first, obviously, because they worked together for about a year before I came on board. And then I feel like Marianne and I really became close friends during the pandemic, in part because we were kind of on a hybrid schedule at work. There was only a few of us there. So a few days a week, it would just be me, Kellie, and Marianne in the building. So that's a great way to get to know people. And I think that's kind of how you and I wound up becoming, more than just coworkers. That's the title of my new romance novel. No, it's not. I don't write romance novels, but no, but that was, I think, how we became friends.
I'm glad you remember, because I don't. I just feel like we always were.
She can't imagine a life before I was in it. Okay.
Sweet. I like that.
Yeah, it did start. My first few months there, I honestly almost quit a bunch of times. I hated it, but I happened to sit next to Kellie, and I just we just talked through the whole day. Made it all better.
We did. I will say that Marianne's the best Secret Santa of all time. I still have all my Secret Santa gifts that she literally made a sculpture for me. Andy's murder snowball, where it was a murder scene in a snowball for my Christmas tree.
That's
Like,
fantastic.
she is fantastic. And of course, Tiffany is an extraordinarily creative, funny person. So when I started working again, I wasn't in the role of a manager. And I just said, I'm just going to do customer service like everybody else for some fun. Because I actually like talking to
Kelly
people.
parties hard, y'all.
I got to know Tiffany so well, and we would laugh, and we had so much in common music wise and art wise and movie wise and politics wise. We really struck up a friendship.
Very cool. And so what are your day jobs then?
Oh God, you're gonna make me admit this on camera?
We don't want to know. That's fine. We can skip to
No,
that.
no, it's fine.
We're customer service.
So I think my title is business development specialist. I've never developed a business there. I'm just going to tell you, I've done all that.
Well,
on
you
my
did
free time.
actually.
Well, yeah. Basically, it's office clerical, customer servicey kind of work. As Kelly said, we work in an insurance underwriting support. It is absolutely as dull as it sounds, if not duller than you think that it is. So that's what we do there. Marianne is actually
Our manager.
yeah.
I'm not technically. I'm
Not
not
technically.
your man.
But we always ask you for guidance. We
I
always
was like,
ask.
Marianne, it's not working.
And I
she's
run
like,
a gigantic mail machine where I physically load these
She does.
Yeah.
surveys in and pull them off. So it's kind of a multifaceted existence there, including developing an entire business, an
Yep.
entire press while doing it. So it's
Yep.
been pretty interesting.
Wow.
I also get to do the quality review. So I correct everybody's
So
mistakes.
every time I do
Fun.
something wrong, I'm like, Marianne, how'd I screw this up again? I
I'm
don't
always
know.
failing. I'm not very good.
That's
I'm not-
fantastic. I love it.
That's so interesting. So then I can sort of just imagine you guys coming together here, and then that's sort of where the press comes out of, because you're like kind of like going, in a sense, going through the motions right at work, doing the stuff,
Yes.
and then that's sparking stuff up here, right? Is that?
But she
is that-
had it. She had this
So,
plan.
What's
She had it.
interesting about the press is that I'm not going to go too far in the Wayback Machine because I know we're on a time schedule here. But I have wanted to do this in some form or fashion since I was 6 years old. And I actually, I had the idea. I stumbled into the literary community on Twitter by accident. I had actually written a collection of short stories in 2019 during my downtime at work. I started exploring writers on Twitter because I was interested in getting an agent. And I wanted to know if there were other people out there in the same boat and what their experiences were like. That led me to all of the independent presses that I have encountered and now interact with regularly. And I was like, oh my God, this is a thing. However, a few months into starting the press, I did find a journal that I kept in 2006, which would have made me 19. We're going to go with 19. Math's not my thing. I count on my fingers. But I had written out exactly what I wrote out at 34 when I started the press, because I had this, I sat down next to Kelly, and I know I posted this on Twitter, and there's, I'm sure, more in depth, but I had sat down next to Kelly and I was like, I have an idea.
Famous
words.
I've said that so many times.
that now
since then.
make me cringe sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
what next?
There's always something cooking. And Kelly was like, that's awesome. And I remember going home after work that day, and she texted me later and she was like, I'm still really excited about your idea. And I was like, me too. So I think that means I should do it. So I busted out a journal and I just wrote everything out by hand, like all of my ideas, the way that I wanted it to go. I approached it like I was starting a business. I figured out what our niche would be, which would be very anti-niche. Like I have a marketing background as well. I've done freelance marketing work over the course of the last 10 years. So I have a really good idea of how to start doing that. And what's funny is that 2 or 3 months into the press, I pull out this old journal from a shelf. And in 2006, I wrote down almost the exact same words, almost verbatim. My initial idea was to do something print first. Obviously in 2006, there wasn't as much of a digital option. There was, but I don't know. I was really rocking Live Journal in those days, which still exists. It's big in Russia, I guess. I don't know.
Because it has to be.
Well, yeah, they're a little behind us. But anyways, that was my thing. I was always posting there. I was very active there. This was pre-social media. This was like, I don't even think I was on Facebook yet at all. So I really was planning to do what I actually wound up doing. And I was dating this guy at the time who was a writer. According to my journal, I spoke to him about it and he was on board. I don't know why that ever would have happened. That doesn't sound like me, but apparently it did and it was. So, okay. And we had this kind of general plan to do it in print and to do it ourselves from home. And it was just crazy because I didn't remember having that specific idea. And then I regurgitated all of that stuff years later.
Okay. And I will let you talk, but I have to.
Oh, I'm done.
I have to tell you about the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh my God.
Okay.
All right. So listen, someone comes to you with an idea and you're like, sweet, I'm all on board. And I'm kind of one of those people that love to take a ball and go, oh yeah, I love to be a team player. I'm not the best at fulfilling a plan, but I'm great at helping somebody. She says, let's meet at the park. We're going to meet and go through the plan. So the three of us meet and she brings a computer, sets it up and presents the most epic PowerPoint, bit by bit, no detail, no stone unturned. And I'm going, uh-oh, I got some work to do.
Oh, she's serious.
It was great. I came home to my husband and I went, all right, this is no joke. This is no joke. She knows what she's doing. She has a vision. She has her mission. It was super exciting. And I think that's why we were so excited about it. Like, oh, she knows what she's doing. It was awesome.
And it was probably surprising to them. And I think it would be surprising to a lot of people to know how much thought I put into it because I'm a very like laid back, funny. I'm like a lazy, like slacker type person. Like I don't care about anything.
Do nothing.
Like it's not just an idiom, guys. Like it's really like I have those tendencies. The one caveat to that is that when I'm serious about something and I care about something, I can be the most intense, crazy person about it. Like, and I think that's kind of what showed through. And I didn't even think that much about the PowerPoint. I was excited about it because I was like, oh, I get to be a boss. Like I can be like, okay, this is what we're doing. But they were like, whoa, who is this girl? Where did she come from?
And it sounds like this whole thing was like sort of lived in you from forever for your whole life. And then for it to come to fruition, it's amazing.
Yeah. When I was 6, I wanted to do my own teen magazine. I was really into teen. I mean, where else are you going to get your JTT posters in the early 90s? Like that was where you were getting them from. And again, pre-internet, there was a page in the magazine where you could send off a letter to contact these young stars via their agency. So I got out my construction paper and I said, listen, I wrote him a letter, all like my weird backwards letters. I'm in 1st grade. And I'm like, I want to do interviews with you. So here's how this is going to go. I'm going to write down my questions. I'm going to mail them to you. You can write down your answers on my construction paper, mail it back to me with like a headshot. And I'm going to make my own magazine out of construction paper. And my parents sent those letters off. It was very sweet. I got 2 responses. I think I was a part and plugs. And then nothing else ever came of it. But that was kind of, for whatever reason, there's always been this idea. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. I was just like, oh, I can do this. If I can see it. But,
That's amazing though. So I mean, it was just like you were meant to do it, which is cool. And like you were saying, like some stuff, you know, you seem like laid back and you seem like kind of just like go lucky and fun and whatever, which you can be too. But then like you're saying, you know, you get it done when it's something that you like. And we were talking this morning, I think through replies or whatever, and you're like, there's not enough time in the day. And I'm wondering how you guys do everything that the press does. It's like amazing. You know, you guys are all over the place. It's crazy.
I don't know.
I'm gonna say I'm like the person who has to drive myself very hard in general. I always have 1,000 things going on. That's my life. These guys are good at execution. I'm not the best editor. I'm not the smartest person on this, but I drive myself. I drive. I'm just kind of a person with a ton of energy.
Kelly,
And when-
stop saying that stuff about my friend.
I'm sorry, but I know, but I know my gifts. My gifts are mostly energy. And Tiffany, when you have a plan, you can execute it. It comes out of her organically, and it's important to her. And
It's
I think
evident.
that there's endless energy when something is you have passion for. Sure, maybe some things go by the wayside, like my children. Not kidding.
Something's got to give. It's all right. They'll be all right.
My kids are all out of the house. I'm kidding. But yeah, you do sacrifice. She sacrifices a ton to get it done. Period. It's a lot. And she does all of the media, which is gorgeous. I absolutely love her design and her eye. And she does all, the organizing and ideas, throwing out ideas. Let's do this. Let's do that. It is her passion. So I think that's how it really.
Well,
I'm speaking.
No, you're 100% right. I think that I'm just that type of person. Like, I'm motivated by being passionate about things. If I'm not passionate about it, I'm not motivated to do it, and it'll get done if it has to. But generally speaking, if I want it, I just go for it.
And
That's
I
just
think
how I am.
it's evident. This press has been so successful, and I think that the energy, the passion, the hard work, the dedication, and the teamwork of the three of you, it's truly seems to be paying off. I think the press has just become wildly successful. It's been really fun to watch this all happen and to grow like this. So, what are each of your roles in the press? Like, what are your titles? And then, like, I guess I want to know maybe a little bit about what's involved with each of your roles. And also, if you could speak to kind of what you look for when you read submissions.
Go ahead, Marianne, you go first. I've been monopolizing. I'm monopolizing.
Do you want to do this? Okay. I'll start because that's just what I did.
You gave us the idea. You gave us the title.
So the titles that we hold, I think, are dual purpose, meaningless and meaningful. Okay. So I say this because there really isn't, maybe with the exception of like running the social media and doing like the web design stuff, there really isn't any one particular job that we won't jump into. So my title is editor-in-chief. I gave that to myself because
It's your thing.
it was my idea, right? Kelly is assistant editor-in-chief. I gave that to her because she was involved first. Actually, Marianne came on board a couple months in to me having the idea before we opened for submissions, but after I initially thought of something, rethought of something, whatever it was I did that day. And Marianne's the lead editor. And really, we all read, we all make decisions, accept or reject, and we all do editing on the pieces that we select. We're kind of all involved. Now, I say that it's meaningless because we are all involved, and it's definitely a group effort. Nobody's doing one thing over the other thing necessarily, except me, who runs the socials, because I'm adept at it and it's just easier. I'm doing the graphics anyway.
We're old.
We're old. Listen,
I hate social.
I am also old. I am past the cutoff of
Every
being a
time
young
you
person.
talked
So.
about where you were in 2006.
I know,
and
I'm
when
like,
you were
well, I was-
6, and I'm like, oh, man.
so
Well, I wasn't 6 in 2000.
No, I know. But you
Just
mentioned
clarify.
both of those
I did.
numbers.
I
and
did.
I'm going,
A
okay.
16-year-old child I had.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
We tease her.
I'm the baby. But I gave these titles to these ladies and to myself because I wanted them to have skin in the game, first of all. I did not want RF to be me and my vision. I did an anti-niche press for a reason, because I saw a lot of niche presses out there, and that's no shade. I think people should pick and publish what they want to see in the world. And there's incredible work out there, which we all know. I wanted to do something different because I feel like that's what sets you apart kind of when you're starting out, again, approaching this like a business. So I was like, okay, we're going to be kind of anti-niche. We're going to pick what speaks directly to us. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just me, because it would just be a bunch of like really emotional, sad stuff. And I would publish like twice a year because I'm lazy. Like this isn't.
She's not.
This isn't necessarily Tiffany's prep. Like this isn't designed to be representative of me, if that makes sense, of my personal taste. So I gave them titles because I wanted them to feel like we're equals. I also gave them titles because they're verifiable on a resume. So if you want to take this and use it to do something in this field, I want to give that to you. So that's the title situation. If you guys want to I'm sorry. I babble when I'm nervous.
I love your babbling. So I would say one of the great things that I like is that about the way we work is that we're all very different in what we love. One of the part of the question was how do you your roles and how that you pick things and stuff along those lines. We all pick different things for different reasons. And I think that gives more people who submit a broader audience to receive their work, because sometimes it's subjective. Everybody likes different things. And sometimes you get myopic. I know I love horror. I love noir. I love dark, but I don't necessarily like science fiction just because it's not my thing. But Marianne will get, you like science fiction.
I like everything.
You like everything, but
That's
like
my
you,
problem.
but that's
I like
a
all
good thing.
genres.
Right. And so we all have these little things that will spark our brains and we'll get excited about, oh, I love this. And then they go, oh, okay. But we all have our different, we come from different places, different backgrounds. And I think it works well because we don't step on each other's toes either.
No,
we don't I will never feel funny about accepting something. Even if Tiffany's like, oh, I don't really get it. It doesn't matter.
No.
She has that open for all of us, which is so liberating, and you don't get that anywhere. You don't get
You
that
trust each other, obviously. Then,
Absolutely.
Right? Is what that speaks to.
absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like also that kind of lends to my vision for the press, which was to make it this kind of melting pot. And it was never about what I like to read, what I would go to the store and pick up if it was a book on a shelf. It was about, okay, what are voices that need to be heard? What part of the literary communities is underserved in some way? And is there a way that we can bolster those voices? That was very important to me. So I just gave them full autonomy. I said, accept or reject whatever you want. Go with your gut. And I'll do the same. And we will put together issues that are a mix of whatever we love and whatever people trust us with.
I think that's great. And I think I love that about your press. I love that there's so much variety, but it's all excellent quality. So Marianne, when you're reading submissions, like what excites you? What do you look for?
I honestly don't look for anything specific. It is just a matter of reading something and it just, you get that, like you said, excites you. It sparks something.
Yeah.
And like some of the things that will be coming out in, what is it? Birds 15? Birds or bird?
Bird
Bird.
singular, one bird.
Bird 15.
Bird 15.
Are probably unlike anything I've accepted before. But they're awesome. So it's really hard. I really have a hard time specifying what I look for.
And I love hearing that because, and I've told Marianne this before, Marianne is the shyest of the three of us. I think that's clear evidence. And I've told her multiple times when I've asked her to do things like host readings, which I know that she does not want to do ever. But I'm like, listen, I don't just want to grow the press. I want us to grow. If there's a way for us to grow, whether it's creative, whether it's as people, whether it's just doing different things with our time and having fun, I want us to grow. And when I hear her talk about accepting things that are out of the norm for her, I'm like, oh, that's growth.
Mm.
Go with your gut, Marianne.
I think that's exciting. Yeah.
What do you guys look for?
I'm ADD. I have to have something that immediately draws me.
That's right. There was a second part of that question. I'm sorry. I'm the worst person to interview. I'm just like, let's just babble for 7 hours because that's how Tiffany communicates. All right. So what I look for, things that I love are gritty and real. I really like an emotional gut punch. And when I do beta readings and stuff for people, when people do trust me enough to give them like an in-depth feedback, I always tell them like, go for it, go for the jugular, because that's what the reader is going to remember. People do read for different reasons. Some people just read to be entertained. Some people read to be educated. Most, I would say, in terms of fiction and poetry, read for emotional connection. Whatever that emotion is, hone in on that, drive it home, just go for it, bear it all, be vulnerable and raw as much as you can. That is what sticks with me.
That's fantastic advice for writers right here. Well said.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you say that, because for me, it is an emotional connection, but it's very physical. I read the poetry out loud or the stories out loud a lot of the time. I am an audio person. Like, I love sound. I love listening. So I will read something and then I'll go, Rob, to my poor husband, listen to this. And I'll read it out loud and I'll go, dude. And I get like this huge thing like this. And he knows, oh, that's going in. And that's how I do it. Like this line, that line. So it is very similar, but it's just a physical reaction more for me. So that's kind of how I do it. I read something, I read it out loud. And if it makes me kind of jump out of my seat, which is almost all the time, I'm very expressive. So to say the least, break into dance, whatever. But that's how I usually pick something. I yell it to my poor husband, who may be somewhere not even close. Rob, wait till you hear this. So that's kind of how I pick things.
So great. Now that when I'm writing things, I'm going to just be thinking, how is Rob going to react to this?
Right. He shakes his head. Okay, dear. Like, whatever. I don't understand what you're talking about, but.
That's so funny. So cool to like hear the different preferences in a sense, and sort of the idea that it doesn't have to exactly fall in your idea of, preferences to be something that stands out to you, which is really cool. And I think a good concept, for myself as a teacher, right? It's not always like what I like, that other people might. So to follow up on that, I'm really interested. Our next question had to deal with like creative preferences and like sort of what inspires you. And then in addition to that, I wonder if your specific creative preferences have an impact on like what you like to read and accept. Does that make sense? So like what do you do creatively? I heard like Marianne made like a cool figurine. So like maybe some more like tactile, like physical creations. And I know Kelly, you do lyrics.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering, grit for Tiffany, do you write grit as well?
Okay. I don't know if I would go as far as grit. There are people out there doing it way better than me. I write a lot of short fiction, flash fiction. I'm not a poet. I wish I was. Hats off to anybody that can write in verse. I can barely sing in verse. I don't do that well either. So I do a lot of short fiction writing. Early on, it was a lot of magical realism. I've always been very heavily influenced by Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude. Still am, but I think as I've aged, I think I've put a little bit more realism and a little bit less magic. Not no magic. I actually have a piece in the works right now that's based on a nightmare that my dad has had for many years, like a recurring nightmare. And there are magical elements to that. in a little bit of ways, but I think the older I get, the more attractive I am to like realism. So that's kind of my creative process. My creative process is that there is no process. Really, I write when I'm inspired. I'm sure that you guys have probably seen me engage in conversations with people on Twitter. I had one recently where someone actually described it as being a conduit. And I thought that was really brilliant, because there are times when I'm writing and I don't feel like it's me doing anything. It just pours out. It just pours out. And however it pours out is how it's meant to pour out. I edit, don't get me wrong. Like, I try not to, ship things off to people with typos, but it really is.
That's called being in the zone, right?
Yeah, and
Nice.
and that's honestly when I do the most work, and that's when I do my best work. If you sit me down and you say, okay, write me a story about this and do it in this length of time, fine, I can come up with something. But it doesn't feel like that.
You did? The Sunbird, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Well,
we gave her a prompt.
Autocorrect gave me a prompt.
Yeah, that's autocorrect. Yes.
I was texting them in the group text, and I was telling them something, and it corrected a word to sunbird. And I went back and said, I didn't mean to say sunbird. I don't know what that means. And I was like, I wonder, that would be a good story title. And then I wrote it. So that's
because I'm pretty sure I said, I thought that was just a piece you were working on.
And I was like, no, but
it's now.
Nice.
Work that in.
Well, like process wise, I write stories at work and send them to everybody in the job, and they're always disturbing. So I think it's really fun. They're always really dark, and the whole cast of characters gets them. My process is physical. I'm a yoga instructor. I choreograph. I try to take people on a journey. I try to bring in elements of creativity, poetry into the yoga class. I was a dancer for many years, and then of course writing songs with my husband. So it's more of a physical process for me, if I'm really being honest. There's almost always an element of movement when I'm being super creative. Even when I'm writing something, it's the movement, it's the typing. I can't write it out with my hands. It's the typing that gets me going. So at work, I'm sitting there and it all comes out because there's a physical activity to it. So that's pretty much my process.
I love that. That is really cool. I love that you bring poetry into your yoga classes as well. That's really
yeah, it's all related, it really
Absolutely.
is. I'm not a religious person, and I don't pretend to be like a Buddhist or anything that has to do with that. I have a hard time bringing in the elements of other cultures that I wasn't raised in. So the culture I was raised in was writing poetry. My dad's a writer.
Our dad sent us a submission, which I was excited about, but he didn't attach anything. So
Handsome Teddy.
I still have not read any of Handsome Teddy's work, but he's a lovely man.
Yes.
So
it was my culture. So we were raised with a writer. So I have a problem with the title writer. I guess that's it. I'm always like, I'm not a writer.
I think we all feel
that way. So
like, I'm not a writer. I'm barely a publisher. Like I'm.
If you write, you're a writer, and you're writing.
I know, but that's like, it's hard. And I tell people that because people will like vent to me about their process, and they'll be like, oh, I'm just struggling with this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're fine. Like, I've read your stuff. You're fine. Like me, I'm just a lazy king. So.
What about you, Marianne?
It's kind of funny because as these guys were talking, I was thinking about the fact that like my creative energies are kind of like the way they kind of go along with the type of thing. Like I said, I like everything. And I kind of just look for how to put my creativity into everything, like just whatever chance I get. I mean, like the Secret Santa things, I looked at that. I know there were a lot of people that we did this at work with that just saw the list of things the person liked and went out and bought what was on the list. Whereas I'm like, okay, my whole goal was to just get that reaction from whoever it was. I hope they love this. And Kelly was my first Secret Santa. And that was her reaction just made it even more like every year I just tried to up my game. I don't think I ever did though. I don't think I ever got better than the gifts I did for you.
Good.
Do you want to know something? I had Marianne for Secret Santa, and she learned what a wonderful, thoughtful gift giver I am not.
Great job.
Did you actually go to the store and buy something?
I did. That is 100% what I did. I got her a really big coffee mug, and I got her a giant thing of chocolate covered espresso
You
beans.
also got me that stone thing. I forget what it was called.
Oh yeah, there was like a little, in the stocking stuffer section, there was a little thing where you could dig through dirt and find rocks, and some of them might be worth something. So I got her that.
And
Who doesn't want that?
Well, my son was in college at the time studying anthropology. So I'm like, whoever got this for me knows, like, listens to me talk. And they know me. So that was awesome.
I'm coming to the conclusion that if it wasn't for our shithole jobs, we would not be sitting here right now.
I think we owe a lot to this insurance underwriting firm, really. We all do.
I'm like, wow, what a miracle.
Yeah, it's like that 6 degrees of separation or whatever, right? I wonder, if you guys didn't have that job, how many people you've impacted so many people. It's crazy just thinking about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we don't have anybody really in common. We do.
But we never, even though we had those people in common, we never
ran
met.
into each other. Mm-mm.
Like I said, you could have been at Andy's wedding, but that was your anniversary, so you weren't there. Otherwise, I would have met you
years ago.
I think I'm not a huge believer in coincidences. I think everything happens for a reason. I don't always understand the reason. But I would say that the shithole job served its purpose.
And I really hope no one from there is watching.
I don't care.
We'll add it.
They don't know where we work. We didn't mention the name of the company, so
No.
We're good.
That's it.
I got my loophole.
Right. Plausible deniability, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The next question we may have already covered, but it was your question, Matt. So I'm gonna ask you to take a look at number 6, and what do you think? Do you think we covered that, or do you want to ask it?
I mean, we could probably just ask them and see if they have anything else to add. So, number 6 was, like what values do you bring, either to your life or to the press, and sort of, well, I'm losing Zoom here. Where did it go? All right. Yeah. So, technology there. So
We're
what,
right there with you. So.
Yeah,
it's like trying to look at the document and do Zoom at the same time, and it minimized to a tiny little thing. All right. So, what do you consider like your core values, and how do they impact, like what you're doing with the press?
So there actually is quite a bit, I think, of my values in the press, and my values, I think, extend to all areas of my life for the most part, in terms of my relationships with other people. One of the things that we really wanted to do was inclusivity, which is important to me. One of the reasons that I started the press in the first place was I was super turned off by the concept of traditional publication, which I know I've talked about before. I find it a little icky. I find it a little exclusionary. I don't really understand the dog and pony show with all of it. Like, I'm going to send you like my best work, and if you like it, you're going to want to publish it because you publish and I write, and that should be the nature of that relationship. But there's hoops that you're expected to jump through, and there's all different kinds of, I don't know, sort of restrictions that are put on you, and you're expected to do all this work, and you're expected to jump through the hoops, and you're expected, you kind of have to. It almost feels a little bit like traditional publication. The path to that is almost like self-publishing. It's almost that difficult. And I was just like, oh, I don't want to do any of that. I'm not going to kiss up to agents. Like, this is my work. You like it or you don't like it, that's fine. But we're not going to dance with each other.
not going to play
So
games.
yeah, exactly. Like I get all these emails all the time that are like, if you want to find an agent, you have to put this sentence in this part of your email to them in this way. And I'm like, are you serious? This is what people are, you're stressing out over your sentence placement and send me a smoke signal with your submission. I don't care. Like the point is the work. So its inclusivity was huge. I decided to leave it very open in terms of what we accept genre-wise. I wanted to make sure that we were getting different people from all over the world, different viewpoints, different styles of writing. There are people who prefer very standardized poetry, and there are people that write like I do, which is just a stream of consciousness opens up, and then that's what you have. I wanted everything to be very inclusive. I also wanted everything to be very transparent, like whatever's going on with the press, whatever we're thinking about doing, whatever we want to do, getting feedback from people, interacting directly with readers and writers alike to make sure that we're doing a good job, that they're satisfied with what they're getting out of publishing with us if they're not readers, but everyone's having a good time. Like we're hosting a party and everyone's having a good time. And making sure that we are kind and respectful to other people, not falling into the trap of being snarky, avoiding the temptation of subtweeting things and, making sure that although we are the least professional people, and I don't want to be, I'm never going to put on a power suit and act like I'm someone that I'm not. I'm a poor kid from Rochester. I grew up listening to indie rock and blowing all of my money on vintage dresses and records at my part-time job and writing a bunch of words and hoping someone read them. That's who I am. That's who I'm always going to be in some form or another. So it's never going to be stuffy with us, but kindness and respect, I think are our commitment to the people that trust us with their work.
Wouldn't you exactly say that your values, I know mine are kindness, number one. And a grandma drilled it into our head, kind, be kind, be kind. And I think that's just the general vibe. Like no one's work is unworthy. Some may not be right or ready, but it's not ever unworthy. And I see a lot online of, I got rejected. I hate that word so much. I hate it. I'm always complaining, but please don't say rejected. You're not rejected. It's just not right. Just like any relationship, when you go through a lot of different relationships before you find the one that connects with you. And why would you settle for a press or a person or a job that you're not really connected with? And so I think kindness and approaching people's work with respect, just like she said, I think we share that, all three of us. And I think that's why it works. We really do believe that letting an author shine, even if it's not quite ready, doing some edits, helping them with that is important. And just to do so in a kind and respectful way.
I think that is absolutely beautiful. And I think you are doing an excellent job, all of you. I think that what you're describing is exactly what's happening with your press. So you're doing a fantastic job. It does feel like very kind, very respectful, very inclusive. I love the vibe. You guys are very professional, whether you want to admit it or not. There is that foundation, that element, that backbone of professionalism. Writers feel safe with you, but yet you're also easygoing, tons of fun, creative, inclusive, accepting, and just very kind. So I think you've got exactly the right combination here, and it's nice to see.
Thank you.
Beth, I'm like in tears. I don't know why.
Please
don't
stop.
do this. I'm a robot.
I'm going to cry on camera right now. And I'm like, nope, you got to hold this together, girl. You got to push it down.
But, and I have to deflect back to you, because the two of you, for example, amongst everyone who we've been dealing with the press, who we've published, who we've spoken to, so awesome in the community of writers, so uplifting. Yes. And again, reflecting for me that's what we value. So
absolutely,
it's lovely. You participate, you write beautifully, inspiring things. And it's just so nice in a world where it feels a little discombobulated 90% of the time, to have people that you feel share those values with you.
Something genuine.
Yeah. And you both are.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's not pretense. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go online, I'm going to make this persona. People are going to like the persona, and I'm going to get famous and, whatever. It doesn't feel that way. It feels very genuine, because that's all I respond to.
Well, and I think too, what I love about there's an aspect of the literary indie lit twit community that is so supportive and kind and wanting to lift up and support each other. It's not all like that. I mean, you have to parse through some of a different vibe, but I really, really love that, because I went to Twitter when I started writing and looking for that. And there's a lot of writers and a lot of presses like yourself that do share that same spirit and vibe of, hey, let's help each other. Let's support each other. It's not a competition. There's plenty of space for everybody's beautiful words and everybody's process, and just to lift each other up and support each other is the spirit that I really treasure. And I think you guys are a really important part of that. So
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I wanted to ask you, what ideas have you got brewing? Like, what should we look out for in the future with RF Press?
Wow. So
I'm just waiting to submit, hoping she doesn't throw something that we haven't heard yet.
guys, I have an idea.
Surprise. Idea, 10 o'clock at night. Diatribe. This one, 17 texts. And I was like, I'm not exaggerating.
I did it last night.
I'm like, oh God. I was at a comedy show. I turned my phone off.
I
and I
forgot.
turned it on. It was 32 texts.
I forgot she was on a date, or I would have saved it. I forgot.
I was wondering why she wasn't answering.
She did tell me that she and Rob were going out last night to a comedy club. I completely forgot. So I'm just like, guys, thoughts.
No thoughts came from me, simply.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll get there.
We got through it.
So
No decisions were made without Kelly.
one of the things that you can look out for, and this is something that I've kind of tap danced around announcing, but I might as well say something now since you guys were good enough to chat with us. We are in the process of approaching print publication. And what that is probably going to look like, I know what it's going to look like for me. I have an idea of what it's going to look like for Kelly. Each of us is going to kind of be doing some type of printed magazine. And right now I'm playing with my printer. Not at this moment. I'm giving it a break, but I am playing with my printer, trying to figure out exactly the best way to do that. I'm also looking into different, presses that exist that publish printed work. I don't know a whole lot about outsourcing that type of thing, and I am very hands-on with this, so I kind of want to keep my hands on it. But I would like to, originally I was hoping to have that rolling by summer, which means that I would like to open up for submissions relatively soon for my individual magazine. Kelly has an idea of where she wants to go. Marianne, I think, has an idea now of kind of how she wants to do her thing. Her face is reading something else, but we have talked about it. So print publication is going to be next in the form of magazines, and those are going to be a little bit more niche. Those, for me, it's going to be a little bit more niche. I kind of have a specific aesthetic, and so making a website for that. Beyond that, we are in talks to start doing chapbooks and things of that nature. Print is where I want to go with this. It's always been a part of the plan. I'm old. I like a book in my hand. Digital is great. It's instantaneous. It widens the audience, but I still want to do the good old fashioned way before I die. And then
I'm on a slippery slope.
How about
before we die?
Just so you know, Tiffany, the more you talk about how the fact that you're old, the rest of us that are older than you, we feel even older.
I'm like legit the oldest person, the oldest of all of us. I know I am.
Okay, but
my daughter's her age.
You're only
Really?
No, your daughter's
31.
younger than me.
31.
I'm 35.
It's pretty close.
31.
Yeah, it's 4 years off. I'm old. Okay. All right. You're only as old as you feel. So
I
I'm gonna
don't
tell
feel
you I'm old.
I
It's
don't.
just
I
a number,
I keep trying
right?
to tell my wife that I'm young, and then Tiffany and I are the same age, and you're saying you're old, so you're in turn making me feel old as well.
Ruins this for you.
It's okay though.
This
Sorry about
illusion.
not responding a second ago. I'm like kind of following my daughter around here too.
Oh,
while we're
That's
playing.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, so thank you for your kind words back there. I didn't respond to that. And it's no
That's
problem.
okay.
Kind of trying to push everybody else up too. It's fun that way anyways. I like checking out everybody else's work. Well, sorry. I love the idea of the print magazines too. I think like the designs you do too are very conducive to turning into something like that, which is cool. So I'm very excited
I love
to see
the
that.
idea. I love the idea of giving these ladies as well the ability to hold something in their hand that they have curated. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great opportunity. So exciting.
So I don't just want it for myself. I do have a cool idea. I've been working on it, picking away at it. That's another thing that I have to do. But it's really, mostly it's just logistical. I don't just want to like print something off. I don't want to do it on construction paper anymore.
Actually, that could be really cool.
But mine, for anybody watching who cares, mine's going to also involve some visual art stuff. Like I can open up for submissions for that and photography as well. So there's going to be it's going to be a little bit different under the RF umbrella. RF's not going anywhere. The blog's not going anywhere. It's the Wild West, and that's the way we like it. We're just giving ourselves a little bit of room to grow and expand. Other than that, and I'm going to let you guys, if I'm forgetting anything, let me know, but we also have merchandise in the works.
The best
I'm
part.
so excited.
So
I need a trucker hat,
Can't
a
wait.
new trucker hat with a typewriter. I wear trucker hats all the time. I want one with that typewriter on it.
okay,
I think that would be awesome.
all
I
right.
love the aesthetic and the design, Tiffany, that you
Gifted.
do.
Thank
She's
you.
gifted.
It is. And I hear a lot of positive feedback about that on Twitter as well. People get really excited about the whole aesthetic that you're doing there.
Thank you.
That's it, right? Yeah, that's all we've talked about.
Did you?
Thank God.
Yeah. Did I
can't think of anything.
forget
else.
anything
Mm-mm.
that we should be?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There's probably stuff I probably just haven't told them yet. So
We'll find out.
10 p.m. text.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. It was really, really fun to talk to you and hear all of this great behind the scenes information about yourselves in the press.
Thank you for doing
Yeah,
this.
oh my gosh, this is so
This was an
kind.
honor. I hope we didn't I babble.
I was up all night. We were all like,
Were you up all night
Yeah.
prepping for this interview?
no.
No.
I just get nervous.
I do too. No, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go home. I'm going to get a really good night's sleep because I'm going to be interviewed tomorrow and I want to be coherent.
How'd that work out?
I drank a very large coffee in the morning. And then at 12:30 at night, I was dancing in my room, folding socks and tweeting about it. So there's evidence.
Yeah.
Oh, I did see those tweets. This
That
morning.
actually
Yeah.
sounds like perfect interview prep right there. I think that others should do the same. That's great.
Yeah, I was gonna say it didn't show. You guys were really fun to interview. Sorry, I seemed a little distracted here at the end, but
Oh, I love it. I think that's fun.
Hey,
She's
Ryan,
definitely pretty
that's the
interesting, I would say.
RFA. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's so great.
Well, I think I could speak for Matt as well when I say we are just huge fans of the press and everything you've done. It's been phenomenal just to watch the success. You can tell, even though you come off with the vibe that's fun and there's so much evidence of the hard work and the dedication and the intentionality, I guess. And talking to you and learning so much about everything that's going into it. So we're just huge fans and appreciate what you do for the writing community. So thank you so much.
Thank
Mary.
you so much.
That's
Thank
so
you.
sweet. Now I'm gonna cry. in
Oh,
private.
we thought everybody deserves to know all of this great information. So we thought we would just turn the tables on you and make you sit in the hot seat and be interviewed. And we appreciate you being good
It's quite
sport
toasty.
and doing
It
that.
is toasty. We're super close
We
together.
are just
like sweating it out. I gotta go put deodorant. I gotta go give myself a bit of a how's your father before we go to lunch. I'm disgusting. I'm sweating.
How's your father?
Don't ask.
I don't want to know. I've never heard that term.
Me neither.
I like that the three of you ended up in the same spot. That was cool.
What, Matt?
I said I like that the three of you ended up in the same spot. That was cool for the interview. I didn't anticipate it that way.
We talked about it, and I was like, we have this tendency to kind of interrupt a little bit and like play off of each other. That's just how we communicate. I don't mean that in like a negative way, but we just like someone, and I'll be like, yeah, just like that. We jump in, and I was like, that's going to come off so much better if we're in the same room. Otherwise, it's just going to be Zoom cutting out.
Yeah.
Constantly while we're fighting for screen space.
The toasty sweatiness is worth it for that, and I think it worked really well. And I think if you're gonna do a little like teaser clip for this, you should really do the thing that Kelly just did about the how's your father. That was great.
Kelly is the star of the promo. Yes, always.
I'm inappropriate in stressful situations.
Like she said in the last book club, she jackasses it up. Jackass it up, honey.
Do feel free to edit however you see fit. We'll leave that expertise to you guys.
Appreciate it. Well, I'm gonna try to get this kind of whole cloth. Let me stop the recording. Let's say goodbye, and then I'll talk. All right. Thank you so much, both of you. This has been great.
Guys. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this again.